Hi, I'm Ryne DeBoer, and this is a Morey Moment, and I'm here with Mike Moran, Head of Technology, Engineering, and our Product Future at Morey. Today, I'd love to ask Mike a few questions. Mike's a visionary and really understands where things are headed. Mike, over the course of your career, you've been exposed to pretty much the entire wave of telecom and the onslaught of the internet, and then obviously now the IoT really exploding. When you look at IoT, what excites you the most right now in the market?
I think it's a really exciting time in the market with IoT, specifically because just in the last few years there have been mega changes going on with both the technology and evolution of the market itself. We're seeing more and more intelligence getting pushed to the edge of networks out of necessity. When you're talking about trillions of devices, you can't backhaul all that data and handle it. So more and more you're seeing in more intelligent edges, a lot more consolidated functionality. The other big trend we're seeing is machine learning and AI being pushed closer to the edge. When you talk about things like prognostics and predicting failures, safety issues and so on, machine learning is a huge piece of that.
From your position, what do you think is going to be impacted the most with all of this intelligence on getting to the edge, or the AI/machine learning stuff getting to the edge?
A couple of things. One is the role of the traditional back end is going to change. It's going to become more lightweight to allow scale. And you're going to see more and more of that heavy lifting pushed out to the edge. And the effect that's going to have is it's going to drive the need for more powerful but low power, cost-effective silicon closer to those edges. So the old idea of a traditional IoT gateway was really a dumb device that collected information and forwarded it, and now it's going to be much more involved in the value chain.
What are some of the applications that excite you the most?
I'm really excited about where AI is going as a technology. I think that more and more high-speed interfaces at the edge, in vehicles, in IoT gateways, and so on. I think automation is a huge area that is ripe for innovation.
What industries, from your perspective, are the most ripe for disruption at this point?
Well, I think there's a lot of room in something that's near and dear to us, which is in the automotive space. There's a lot of initiatives going on with smart trailer, platooning, a lot of things going on with over the road and heavy equipment. But I also see in mining, oil and gas, and in particular industrial IoT, a lot of room for advances. It's almost like when you look back at medical devices, there were these giant things that you'd strap on a patient and record with a tape, an analog tape, for hours to get like a heartbeat. Now there's a little teeny device that goes in somebody's pocket and does the same thing. There's the same kind of room for innovation in these fields.
What do you think about cameras or image sensors? What have been some of the applications that excite you the most?
Pretty soon everything is going to be video. It's all about video right now in the automotive, over the road, and even equipment space. Cameras are critical for a number of reasons, but obviously driver safety is one. But probably one of the biggest ones is to avoid lawsuits and use forensics, around accidents and events like that. ELD, logging of driver hours, behavior, et cetera. So again, back to AI, more and more AI is making its way into these camera systems. Right now, one of the issues with it, though, is it's kind of island AI is what I call it. I mean, it's stuck with the camera itself, and there's not a lot of correlative AI that can look at, hey, this is what's going on in the vehicle itself. It's at this speed, it's got this much gas, and this is happening with the driver and around the driver. So that's the next big wave, I think, that's coming with cameras.
So I think the phrase that I've heard is multi-sensor fusion.
Yeah.
From your perspective, what is the best way to accomplish multi-sensor fusion and provide value from it?
Yeah, so this in a way ties back to what we were talking about a minute ago, which is more intelligence at the edges of the networks. So to be able to do correlative multi-sensor fusion type applications, you've got to have the horsepower at the edge to do that. Yep. So you need higher end devices. Doesn't necessarily mean more expensive because, as Moore's law dictates, things get cheaper over time. It's with more integration. But bringing that capability of multiple feeds from sensors, cameras, vehicle data, whatever you want to add to that, to a common point at the edge, not having to backhaul it all to the cloud, is really a big key, because it won't scale, trying to backhaul all that data.
So something we talk a lot about is the difference between microprocessor compute versus FPGA compute.
Mm-hmm.
From your perspective, what's the kind of the trade-offs of both, and from your perspective, which one has more of an advantage?
It really depends on the end application. They both have their place. Micros are really good at, obviously, general purpose compute. If you're doing things that are well emulated in software, it's a great fit. FPGAs bring more of a hybrid approach. All the modern FPGAs have micro cores, usually ARM cores or something like that. But then they also have kind of a sea of programmable logic that lets you do application adaptation to the environment. So, for example, if I'm doing something in a smart factory and I want to do machine control, I can instantiate motor control cores or something else to control robotics and sync the systems together. FPGAs are really well suited for that.
Beyond those applications, we talk a lot about connectivity, and there's been a lot of changes in connectivity in the last few years. What are some of the connectivity innovations that you've seen that you think will be either additive or disruptive to the total IoT stack?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a number of things. So for one, a few years ago in IoT, there was like a smorgasbord of, what you'd call PAN or WAN protocols, right? There is LoRa, there's, Sigfox, there's Zigbee, there's all these things competing. And the reality is the market's shifted down to really two primary, personal area network wireless interfaces, and that's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. For remote connectivity, cellular is by far the dominant technology there. Within the cellular space, we're seeing a lot of evolution with 5G coming out, cheaper data plans, and what's on the horizon very soon is private LTE, which lends itself really well to things like construction yards or even platooning, where you want to create a private, secure, high availability, even redundant network with the high bandwidth of cellular.
So in this case, when you're talking about that, you basically get, from what I understand, all the benefits of a traditional LTE cellular network, but you have the entire stack, and you can use it any way you see fit. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. So when you're talking about private LTE or even 5G, private spectrum, there's a bunch of different solutions out there. But the idea is that instead of a cell tower, you've got a small cell, which is a small device, which can either be mounted to a pole in a construction yard, it can be mounted in a vehicle, which is how they're using it for public safety today. And what it does is it creates either a mobile or a stationary footprint for cellular communication with maybe up to a mile radius, so it's a limited footprint. But you can essentially run whatever data you want privately over that. So it's not going through a provider's core or back end necessarily. You can get away from the data rates that are associated with that. The only thing you really need is internet connectivity back to that small cell. But you can have maintain mobility. So for example, if you're in a mining application with heavy equipment and you've got a bunch of vehicles that are going further and further down a mine shaft, you can have small cells periodically, every so often posted into that environment, and they'll still seamlessly hand off as if they were going from tower to tower. So it creates a lot of really flexible options.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So I think that opens the door for a different part of the IoT stack, which is smart sensors. So whether it be regular cell from a traditional carrier or small cell, what role do you see smart sensors having in the IoT?
Yeah, so there's definitely a big shift towards more intelligent sensors. Again, with integration comes, new possibilities. And, instead of having a sensor, the old model is you've got a dumb sensor that speaks some WAN protocol to a gateway, and then the gateway packages that all up and sends it back to the cloud. More and more we're seeing integrated LTE directly into these sensors, and that's becoming actually affordable with the integration that's going on.
Any applications that are more exciting to you in that area or not?
Yeah, it's all interesting to me. I think that sensor integration is a really key thing to keep our eye on. But I think more of where I'm excited is more in the gateway hub arena, where, as we were talking about before, you've got this rich data environment where you can really add value with AI, machine learning, analytics, prognostics. There's video, bringing it all together and making that data combined have synergistic value.
Any other technologies out there that are exciting that doesn't even have to do with IoT? I know you're a student of all kinds of different kinds of technology. What's gotten you fired up recently?
I really am probably mostly buried in the IoT stuff right now. It's been my main focus, but there's some cool stuff with autonomy that's going on, smart vehicles, electric vehicles that's really interesting.
So when you were coming to Morey, I think you found us really, and I think what really caused us to hit it off is I think we had similar and compelling visions for where things could head in our space, the smart connected solution space. For you, from a vision standpoint, when you picture 5 or 10 years into the future, what do you see as the compelling vision that has caused you to even bring on some of your best and brightest teammates from a variety of different spots in your career?
Yeah, so when I first started at Morey, I was excited when I started speaking to you about your vision, because I think that is very tightly related to how I view things, the way you think. And, I'm ambitious. I want to be in this to win and not just, go in and collect a paycheck. So once I saw your fire, your vision, and then you and I started to collaborate, I felt there was a lot of really good synergy there. For me, I think the sky's the limit. In 10 years, we could be, name your price tag, but we could be, 10, 100x where we are right now. I really believe that. And I think that's what's, kept my interest and the interest that I've hopefully conveyed to the guys I've brought on board. I think that's what excites them.
In terms of your teammates and things that would be inspiring for them to know that we're working on or where things are headed, if you were in their shoes, what would you say is the most exciting things going on here at Morey?
I think, the most exciting thing is really our vision and the fact that we're taking steps to realize that vision. So I think we have the right ingredients. We have really smart people, and we are capable of, really differentiating ourselves in the marketplace. People see that when it's backed up by action, and I think the actions that you and Dana and others are taking reinforce that. So the more we pursue that big lofty goal that we have for 10 years from now, people see that, they're excited.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I think that some of the most fun early whiteboard days that we had, we started to paint kind of the matrix that is, you have smart sensors and connectivity, you have sometimes powered and non-powered assets,
right.
And then you have basically unlimited ways to compute data or transmit data to a cloud. And
right.
That set of ingredients for a chef like yourself is pretty inspiring and interesting. And so when we went about starting to build out our roadmap, I think that was some of the early strategy work that we collaborated on. As you think about kind of where our roadmap has gone and where we're headed, as you think about that universe, how did you go about kind of organizing the portfolio and our roadmap and where we're trying to bring things?
Yeah, so we really took a divide and conquer approach. So there's things that are tangible and that we can do in the next, let's say, 2 years. So that was one thread of activity, and the other one is let's reach for the sky and see, not limit ourselves artificially. So we've got kind of that 5-year loftier view as well. So the two of them are kind of an overlay, and the goal is to be able to migrate as we grow as a company things off that, big, hairy, audacious 5-year vision onto our tactical 2-year roadmap and start executing, more and more towards that goal.
Mike, as we've been putting together our strategy, I think one of the keys and one of the tenets that's a core belief for me that I know you share is best product wins, but more importantly, best user experience wins.
Right.
And as we've focused on what we're calling our next-gen platform, or NGX, I really think that focus has been on not only the user experience, but the underlying and enabling technology.
Yep.
That becomes available to the stakeholders that really need to leverage a device and all of its power. Talk to me about how you make decisions, or how you create a platform that is intuitive, easy to use, delightful for
Yep.
those who are trying to make insights out of a data acquisition or a high power gateway.
Yeah, so that's absolutely one of the key ingredients is usability. And for example, you mentioned the next gen platform, which is an initiative we've been working on here for a little while. Out of the chute, the goal was to make this very user-friendly, easy to deploy, and upgradable in the field, which is a really big key to that. So, the approach we're taking is fully active remote diagnostics, always available management, meaning we can talk to the device wherever it is, whenever we would like to, for both troubleshooting and upgrades. But really the configuration and ease of deployment piece of it's coming down to a really unique architecture that we created for this product. And without letting too much out about it, it is capable of evolving to being a full application hub with multiple different applications running at the same time. So it's not just a purpose-built device. It's not just going to do telematics. It can do telematics, and then we can, turn on an application for, prognostics or health readiness. We can turn on AI. We can turn on video analytics. So it's really a building block for us as we go forward to, again, not just differentiate, but disrupt the market.
So, given your background, if you were a user or a customer that had that tool chain or that toolkit, what would excite you the most?
Well, a couple of things. So one would be, that it's a standard architecture where it's very easy to deploy, configure, turn up, and monitor. So operationally, it's very easy to use. And the second thing is it uses standard software components. So if I want to change what I'm doing and add value as a provider in the field, I can continue to create. I can have an ecosystem of third-party developers, and I can create value-add applications that don't have to reside on the back end. They can actually scale on the device itself.
Not only does it open up the door for future creativity, but it allows you to continue going and continue building, as opposed to
Correct.
Being stuck with something that's been deployed.
Yeah, so if you go out and your value prop is A, and then you have some brilliant ideas, and you say half a year down the road, hey, we'd really love to be able to do this, you don't have to rip that device out and put something new in. You can actually reuse it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, add capability.
Yeah, some of the stuff that excites me the most is we've been at this for a different amount of time, but in general, a lot of time. And I feel like we know where the market's headed, and no one's really done it well enough yet to have consolidated the market or really pulled off the land grab.
Yeah.
And so I still feel like it's a little bit of the wild, wild west.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's really our opportunity. We're only constrained by our own beliefs, and I think we can, really be differentiated and disruptive in the marketplace.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for spending some time and collaborating and sharing stories.
Sure.
Again, this is a Morey moment, and we'll see you next time.